Money doesn't change people. Money amplifies who you already are. So if you already are a beautiful human being, you have nothing to worry about. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves joy. Everybody deserves peace. Everybody deserves abundance. Everybody, literally everybody. Money is like a knife, and you can cook with that knife a beautiful meal for your family, or you can kill with that knife. Money is exactly the same. Don't suffocate that desire because someone told you you weren't allowed to desire. Your desires are in your heart for a reason. Welcome to Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, life purpose coach, business owner, and your spiritual guide on all things mindset, manifestation, and purpose. This podcast is a space for deep reflections, meaningful conversations to help you expand your mind, dive into the depths of your soul, and create a life that makes you feel alive. Whether you're walking, driving, or simply vibing, take a deep breath and get ready to dive. Hello, my love. Welcome to another episode of Blisstopia podcast. I'm your host, Mercedes Castellani, and today we're going to talk about 10 lies about money that are keeping you broke. Oh my God, what a topic. But I want to start this podcast episode by saying that if you feel like money is always tight, it's always stressful, it's a mystery, you're always thinking about money, you're always stressed about money, you're always uncomfortable around money, chances are that you have picked up limiting beliefs without even realizing it. So, what happens is that between the ages of 0 to 7, we are in a state of hypnosis. Everything that we hear enters into our mind, enters into our subconscious mind, and it becomes our truth. So if our parents, if our caregivers, if the messages that we heard about money between ages 0 to 7 were not positive, were not uplifting, were not abundant, we might have picked up limiting beliefs from our parents, from our caregivers, from the things that we heard in the news, in the media. And now those things are running the show. I like to think of limiting beliefs as the music that you have that is playing in the back of your mind. If you heard a certain music, if you heard classical music when you were ages 0 to 7, there's still classical music in the back of your mind. If you heard horrible, heavy metal, out of balance music, maybe you're still playing that heavy metal in the back of your mind. And now you are a grown-up woman, but you still have this music in the back of your mind. So today, on this episode, I'm going to be exposing 10 really common limiting beliefs around money that are sabotaging your income, your confidence, and your ability to receive. Last week's episode, we talked about 5 signs that you're blocking money. And I suggested that we would do this like a self-awareness exercise where I'm sharing things with you and I want you to be thinking, do I actually think this? Do I actually do this? This week, I'm going to be sharing beliefs with you. So as I say each of these beliefs, I want you to think, do I actually believe this to be true? Is this true? And if you have like a, yes, this is true, then pay attention because all of these are limiting beliefs. So if you do believe these things to be true, you really need to listen to the explanation that I'm going to be given afterwards. And we want to start reframing these limiting beliefs because until you believe these things, you will not be able to manifest abundance. You will not be able to call in the money, the abundance, the freedom that you seek for your life. So again, these episodes are not comfortable because I'm shedding light into some blind spots that you might have up until now. This is not a comfortable process. This might be triggering, but I know that you're brave. I know that you're here to do the deep work. And that's why you're listening to the podcast. That's why you're spending time with me, because you want to go into the depths of things. And sometimes change is uncomfortable. Sometimes change is messy. But I know you're brave. I know you're here for deep, long-lasting transformation. Because I could be just talking about this is nice, la la la. Oh my God, we're going to think positive and we're going to do some affirmations and we're going to visualize. Yes, that's nice at some point. But if we don't tackle these things that are at the very bottom of the iceberg in your subconscious mind, the manifestations are not going to work, the visualizations are not going to work, the affirmations are not going to work. So we need to go into the depths first. So are you ready? Let's go. So limiting belief number one, just because I'm sharing 10, it doesn't believe that this one is more, it doesn't mean that this one is more important or better or worse than all the other beliefs. It's just an order for explanation. It doesn't mean that there's an actual order in terms of which of these beliefs are more annoying than other beliefs. It's just an order in order to explain the limiting beliefs. Limiting belief number one is money is the root of all evil. Do you believe this to be true? Do you believe that money is evil? Do you believe that rich people are evil? Do you believe that money is just a force that changes people and they become horrible human beings when they have money? Do you believe this to be true? Do you believe billionaires to be horrible people? Do you believe millionaires to be horrible people? So if you do believe this, I have a good news and a bad news. The good news is that now you're aware, and the bad news is that this is a limiting belief. So we see this a lot in the media. There is a lot of news. There are lots of messages out there that say that rich people are horrible, that rich people are greedy, that rich people are corrupt. And yes, there are some rich people who are horrible. And as I say this, I'm thinking about the red-headed man that has a lot of power right now. And he is very wealthy and he is very horrible. But that is one example. There are also people who are very wealthy, who are amazing human beings, who are doing great things for the world, who are donating money, or who are simply kind, compassionate human beings who care about other people. And there are also poor people that are beautiful people, and there's also poor people that are horrible people. So do you see where I'm going with this? Being rich, being wealthy, and being a good person has nothing to do. Absolutely nothing to do. So the issue with this belief is that if your subconscious mind thinks that being wealthy, it's a bad thing, that you're going to become a horrible person if you become wealthy or rich, guess what? You will not become wealthy and rich because you want to be a good person. So you will stay poor or you will have just enough, but you will be subconsciously blocking wealth because you want to be a good person. So how do we reframe this limiting belief? First of all, we need to think that money is a tool. Money is like a knife, and you can cook with that knife a beautiful meal for your family, or you can kill with that knife. Money is exactly the same. Money is like a knife. You can do beautiful things with that money. You can give great education to your children. You can donate money. You can invest in companies that are in line with your own values of sustainability and women leadership. You can do great things with your money, or you can do horrible things with that money. Invest in companies that invest in oil and gas, buy products from China that are damaging the planet, whatever it is. So I want you to think the following. Money doesn't change people. Money amplifies who you already are. So if you already are a beautiful human being, you have nothing to worry about. And I want you to ask yourself, what good could I do if I had more money? What good could I do if money was in the right hands? How does the world benefit when amazing women like me, good women like me, have more money? What happens? So if you're a good human being, you have nothing to worry about if you have more money. Money is not going to change you. It will just amplify who you are. If you're kind, if you're generous, you can have more money to be generous with. If you like to support some causes like animal well-being or sustainability or female leadership, you will be able to put more money into those causes. So if you're a good human being, you have literally nothing to worry about if you have more money. The second limiting belief is you have to work hard to make money. Do you believe that you have to earn money the hard way? Do you believe that when you earn something, it's more valuable, it's more worthy. And this limiting belief, and this is going to be harsh as I say it, but I do need to say it. This limiting belief is a medium class limiting belief. So the low class, poor people think, I'm not going to work, I'm not going to make any efforts, because even if I do make any efforts, nothing is going to change. The medium class thinks, I need to work hard, because when we work hard, we make progress. And that is true. Maybe that was the case for your parents, your grandparents, your great grandparents. But let me tell you something. The elite, wealthy people are not thinking that. Millionaires don't think that. Billionaires don't think that, because there is no way you can work the equivalent of hours of all the money that you have. There is no way. So what the elite wealthy people are thinking is, I don't need to work hard. I just need to make smart choices. Smart choices make me money. So how can I make super smart, financially intelligent choices? So where does this belief come from? First of all, from your family. Maybe there was this sense of sacrifice was the badge of honor. We've earned it the hard way. You've done the work, therefore you deserve something. You've done something, therefore you deserve it. So you're unworthy unless you do something, where in reality, we're all worthy just because we are born. Abundance is our birthright, literally as if you were a queen. Abundance is your birthright. Just because you are born, in the case of a queen, in the right family, you're worthy of all of that. But in the case of you, human being, just because you're alive, just because you're breathing, just because you're on this planet Earth alive, you deserve abundance. Just the same way as you deserve love. Everybody deserves love. Everybody deserves joy. Everybody deserves peace. Everybody deserves abundance. Everybody, literally everybody. There is nothing you need to do. You don't need to earn it the hard way. You don't need to make sacrifices. You don't need to go into burnout. So this limiting belief might have been useful until now. Maybe you've achieved things in your life because of this limiting belief. And I used to have this limiting belief. I come from a medium, we could say medium in terms of income, medium high in terms of education, family. But my parents really, really, really glorified sacrifice. My dad used to say, we don't appreciate results, we appreciate the effort. If you've put in the effort, that's what we are going to appreciate. Nice, beautiful, very medium class, very medium class. How do we get out of this? How do we get out of the I need to work hard to make money? First of all, you don't need to suffer to succeed. You don't need to sacrifice to succeed. You are worthy of abundance just because you're born, just because you're breathing. So you can ask yourself, where are you making things harder than it needs to be? How could you simplify the whole thing? You don't need to suffer. You can just have whatever you want. Where are you overcomplicating things? Could you relax and enjoy your money? Could you make things simple and allow for lots of money to come your way? Where can you make this simpler? The third limiting belief is there's never enough to go around. Basically, we have two types of mindset: lack mindset and abundance mindset. So lack mindset thinks that abundance money is a finite resource, that if one person wins, the other person loses. So we are in competition. There's scarcity. There's not enough for everybody. So we need to fight. Whereas in reality, we could also have an abundance mindset where there's opportunities, there's clients, there's jobs, there's money, a lot of money for everybody. If they win, you win. If you win, they win. So basically, where this belief came from, it came from growing up in scarce environments. Maybe you've seen this. You've seen spaces, you've seen groups, you've seen families where there wasn't enough. Maybe you haven't been exposed to true abundance when there's everything for everybody. Imagine a kid who grew up in Norway. Everybody had their needs met. Everybody had education. Everybody had food. Everybody learned English when they were 5 or 6. Everybody had some trips. Everybody had more or less the same things. So they relax in the knowing that there's enough for everybody. I don't need to rush. I don't need to push. I don't need to compete. I can be the last one in the queue and there will still be something for me. We're all getting the same here, and there's enough for everybody. But what if you were born in Africa or Latin America, where there wasn't enough for everybody? Where if you were the first one or the first ones in the queue, you had a lot. And if you were the last one in the queue, you had nothing. So if you were 0 to 7 and this is what you saw, no wonder why you have this belief: if they win, I lose. If I win, they lose. So there's not enough. The belief, the underlying belief is there's not enough for everybody. There's never enough to go around. So what this looks like in your day-to-day life is hoarding money. You have money and you want more, 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 more. And you keep it there in your savings account, getting 0 interest. You just keep it there. Or maybe you don't share information with people. You're gatekeeping information. Because if you give people this information, then what might they do with that? Maybe there's envy, there's comparison. You're thinking, oh, what does she have that I don't have? Maybe her, whatever, car is bigger. Maybe she has this bag that I want. Maybe she has this, whatever it might be, job or business or boyfriend or engagement ring, whatever it might be. And maybe you're comparing yourself to other people. And you don't think what is possible for one is possible for all. If she has that thing, it's proof that we can all have this thing, which would be the abundant equivalent, the abundant thought. So abundance isn't just about money. You can have an abundance of sun, abundance of food, abundance of creativity, abundance of pleasure, abundance of great sex, abundance of financial resources as well, abundance of love, abundance of opportunities. So we can have abundance of so many different things, and finances is just one form of abundance. So my question for you is, where in your life do you already have more than enough? If you're not used to seeing this abundance in terms of financial resources, let's look into other areas. Let's look into other things. Where in your life do you already have more than enough? Where in your life are you already abundant? And let's get used to that feeling of having more than enough love, more than enough friendships, more than enough messages to respond to, more than enough pleasure. Where in your life do you already have more than enough? Limiting belief number 4. Wanting more is greedy. Wanting more is ungrateful. And I see a lot of this, especially in women, when many women think, oh, I shouldn't be wanting more. I should be grateful with what I already have. My life is already good. Why do I want more? And we feel guilty because we want more. If I want more, I'm going to be greedy. So basically, it's like wanting more, it's not a good thing. So where does this come from? Basically, religion that tells you that you should want, the bare minimum and you should be happy with that. Cultural programming. So media that says that if you want more, you're going to be greedy, you're going to be horrible people. If you desire more material things in your life, you're going to be materialistic, you're going to be superficial. And it also comes from confusing desire with selfishness. So maybe you grew up in a family, in an environment where resources were actually tight. And every time you wanted something, maybe you wanted a new toy, or you wanted whatever, a new CD or something, maybe they told you, or you're being selfish, because if you get that, then the rest of the family can't get other things. So your desires weren't encouraged and celebrated. And basically you learned that you had to settle for just enough, that being ambitious is a bad thing, and that you would be greedy for wanting more. What I want to offer here for you is permission slip to own your desires. If you want more, that is totally fine. It just makes you an ambitious person. And that is a good thing. Being ambitious, it's a good thing. It means you're not mediocre, settling down for just enough, just getting by. You're being ambitious. You want more. You have dreams. You have goals in your life. That's a good thing. And your desire, it's not greed. It's clarity. It's giving you clarity towards, okay, this is where I'm going. This is my direction. This is where I'm headed next. So wanting more, it's going to give you fuel. It's going to give you power. It's not greed. It's clarity. So I want you to think about the following. If you could have more, what would you create? What would you give? What would you heal? Who would you be if you had more? Connect with that desire, amplify that desire. Don't suffocate that desire because someone told you you weren't allowed to desire. Your desires are in your heart for a reason. There's a version of you in the future who already has all of these things, and she's sending you breadcrumbs and she's giving you these desires to point you in the right direction. So, who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What will you do when you will have more? What are you going to create when you have more? You're allowed to desire and want and ask for more. Limiting belief number 5 is I'm just not good with money. And this one, it's especially important for women because there is a financial gap in terms of the salaries between men and women. And there's an even bigger gap between men and women in terms of investment. Where does this come from? Maybe you grew up without financial education. Maybe the men in your family were the ones that were handling money, not women. Maybe you made some mistakes in the past and you've decided to punish yourself for those mistakes and you've turned those mistakes into your identity. We all make mistakes, that's fine. So if you haven't had the chance to educate yourself in terms of financial education, what I want to offer for you here is to treat this with a growth mindset instead of a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is, okay, these are the way things are, they will never change. I'm just not good with money, it will never change. What if we could see it as, okay, this is a skill, this is an ability, and I don't really have it right now. But what if I could get better at it? And what if I could learn? What if I could listen to podcasts? What if I could take some quiz to get better? What if I could take some courses on money mindset or financial personal finances? So you can get better at this. I used to have this one for real, but mine was, it wasn't, I'm just not good with money because I've always been good at saving and I've always been very responsible with my money. But I had this one in, I'm just not good at investing. I don't know how to invest. And I had to learn. I found Female Invest, which if you do want to take some financial education, I can give you 2 months for free with them. You're going to find the link in the show notes. I found Female Invest. I learned a lot from them. I surrounded myself with personal finance coaches. I learned from them. I'm reading, I'm trying different things. And with time, with 2 years of effort into this topic, I can now say, I am good at investing. I can do this. But I was seeing it as a skill that I could get, not as a personality trait. So, what is one thing you could read about this week? Maybe listen to another podcast about money. Maybe take the quiz that you are going to have in the show notes. One thing that you can do in order to learn more about your finances and to feel more in control of your finances. Limiting belief number 6. And this one, it can really hinder your growth. Limiting belief number 6 says, if I make too much, I will lose friends or I will be judged. And this one is hard. I haven't had this one, but I've seen clients with this one. And it is hard because we are social creatures. We just want to survive, and our survival depends on being part of a group. So if our subconscious mind thinks that if we make a lot of money, we're going to lose people, the subconscious mind doesn't want to threat our relationships. So our subconscious mind will prefer to keep at a level of money that is acceptable by our group and to remain there because we don't want to lose people. And if we are afraid that we're going to be judged, and therefore, same thing, excluded of the group, our subconscious mind is going to keep us just getting by, just at the level that our group of friends and family is. So where does this come from? This limiting belief can come from a deep sense of loyalty to people who struggle, whether that's your friends or your family. We can be very, very loyal to our family. And even if our family struggled financially, we remain loyal to them and we don't want to lose our friends or our family. We have a fear of being rejected. Being rejected is one of the 5 core wounds that a human being can have. So if we do have the rejection wound, we might be more prone to having this one. If I have more money, people are going to judge me. So how this will show up in your life, you're going to be caping your rates, you're going to be caping your income potential, you're going to be subconsciously blocking money from literally appearing in your life. You will be downplaying success. You won't be showing your success to your family or friends. You might apologize for your wins, and you're choosing the approval of other people over your own progress. So, this one is really deep, but what I want to share on this podcast today is, first of all, if you think some of your friends are going to judge you for having more money, do you really want those friends? Or would you rather have new friends who are in line with your new identity, with your success, who are deeply happy for you, not envious of you? Do you really want those friends? And second, sometimes we're afraid of being judged, but that doesn't mean that people are actually going to judge us. So we can go in depth and really analyze, why are we so afraid of being judged? When have we been judged and rejected in the past? What are we playing? Again, coming back to this, the music that we have in the back of our minds. Which kind of music are we still playing? And you can ask yourself, when you succeed, in this case financially, who is going to benefit from you thriving? Maybe your kids will benefit. Maybe your family will benefit. Maybe your friends will benefit. Maybe the world will benefit when you make more money. So I would invite you to think, is this an internal fear? Maybe I'm afraid I'm going to be rejected, but it's not actually the case. These people are adorable. They would never judge me. It's just I'm afraid. Okay, that's one thing. We can work internally. And then there's another thing. If you think those people will actually judge you, do you actually want those people in your life? Or would you rather have other types of friends? Limiting belief number 7 is, I will always be in debt. And if you don't have debt, you could think, I will always be behind. So where does this come from? Basically, you could be living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe you grew up in an environment where there was generational debt. Maybe there was a crisis and you and your family ended up in debt, or there was this chronic financial instability. And you decided, your subconscious mind decided to create a story around this and to create an identity around this that says, I'm just not good with money. We're always in debt. We're bad with money. We're always behind. And you've made debt your identity. We are the family who's always in this situation. I am the person who's always in this situation. So this might be appearing in your life as maybe you're in a much better situation now than your parents were, and you are still going into those patterns of overspending, being avoidant with your money, going into debt, and you are playing that situation again. Maybe the situation is different now, but because you've made it your identity, I'm the kind of person who always has debt. It's still there. But I want you to think the following. Debt is a phase in your life and it can change. You can settle a payment plan, pay little by little. There's different ways in which you can pay debt. You can pay, for example, the debt that has the higher interest rate first, then the debt that has the second interest rate, and basically you pay the debt that has 0 or very little interest at the very end. Or you could also pay, for example, the smaller amounts first and then the bigger amounts. But I would suggest, if you have debt, I would suggest to pay first the debt that has the higher interest rate and then pay in that order of interest rate. But again, debt is a phase. It's not your identity. And also, we could even think of debt, reframe debt as financial leverage. So you don't have debt. You have leveraged money in order to do something. Maybe you leverage money in order to study. Maybe you leverage money in order to buy a property. Maybe you leverage money in order to support your family in an emergency situation. So you've leveraged money. You're still in control. And it's a phase, it's a process. There's some deadlines. You're going to comply with those deadlines. But that's not you. You are magnificent. You are abundant. And you will end up paying that debt little by little, little by little. So how can we reframe debt from being this undesirable negative thing that it's in your life to, I've just leveraged money. Some people trusted me. Some banks, some institutions trusted me with their money so that I could do this thing. And now I will pay them back little by little. And I will try to get rid of the debts that have a higher interest rate first, because that's what's financially smart. And then we're going to get rid of this little by little. And this is the plan for it. This is how much I'm going to pay each month. And now this money is set aside and I will be paying this no matter what happens every month. And I will only spend what I have left after paying that debt. Limiting belief number 8 is people like me don't get rich. People like me don't get wealthy. So where does this come from? First of all, maybe it's conditioning that you received from your family, from the class that your parents had and the class that you were born into. Maybe there's a racial component, a gender component, a cultural component. If you are a woman, maybe you haven't seen so many women be in charge of their finances, be extremely wealthy. If you are a Black woman, maybe you haven't seen Black women out there rocking it, being extremely wealthy. If you're a queer woman, maybe you haven't seen other queer women who were rocking it out there, super wealthy. So there's the conditioning from your family, but there's also the lack of financial role models who look just like you. A woman of color, queer woman, a disabled woman, whatever it might be, your case, maybe you haven't seen people like you on TV being wealthy. We only grew up with these men in their 60s or 70s who are white, who are supposedly heterosexual. They might not even be, they're pretending to be heterosexual, who are Catholic or Jew. So, but that's not the actual reality. That's not the case. But it's just that we've lacked those financial role models of women just like us, who were smashing it, who were super wealthy. So how does this show up in your life today? Maybe you're shrinking in business or negotiations because you're like, well, people like me don't buy property. Well, people like me don't get these kind of promotions. Well, people like me. No, we need to cut all of that because that's us feeding into a system that is unfair. So we need to show up and show the world that women get to be wealthy. There are women who are wealthy. There are Black women who are wealthy. There are queer women who are wealthy. There are disabled women who are worthy. Worthy and wealthy, both of them. Please, for the love of God, do not make this an excuse. Do not disqualify yourself just because of your gender, your race, your sexual orientation. Don't disqualify yourself. We need to show the world more women in position of power, more women in positions of wealth. We are training the next generation of women. We are training the little girls to see women just like you and me succeed. We are the role models now, you and I. So you deserve to be wealthy. And it's also your duty to be wealthy and to be a role model for the women, for the little women who are looking at us. We are the example now. We are building history. You and me, maybe becoming the first millionaires in our family, becoming the first billionaires in our families. We set the example. Limiting belief number 9 is I have to choose between purpose and profit. I have to choose between income and impact. And oh my God, I had this one. Before I started doing all of this work, I used to think I need to choose between spirituality and money. I need to choose between impact, doing something that literally changes people's lives, and income. I used to have this dichotomy in my mind. Luckily now it's gone. I know that I can have impact and income. Not only I know it, I'm living it. This is my life now. Impact and income, purpose and profit. I get to have both. You get to have both. So this happens a lot. I see this a lot for artists. This happens a lot for healers. This happens a lot for women who are literally heart led and they just want to do the good thing. But everything that is linked to the world of art or the world of spirituality, it feels like it's either art or money. It's either spirituality or money. We get to have both. You get to do your art, live of your art, and make money. You get to be spiritual, do spiritual things, and make money. So we need also more models who are purpose driven and profitable. So, how does this show up? First of all, avoiding money altogether, because you feel like if you are talking about your art or about your spirituality, you feel like if you put money into the equation, you're just going to, it's like dirty, like art, spirituality are clean and beautiful and ideal, and then money feels dirty. So you're going to avoid everything that is related to money. You will not be charging, you will be doing things for free. You're not treating your business like a business, you're treating your business like a hobby. You might be over delivering and undercharging because you love what you're doing. You're just doing it for the mission. So you're over delivering and you're undercharging for your services. And you feel torn between your service and survival. You feel like maybe I need to get a job to survive and there's no way I can live out of what I do. So how do we reframe this? First of all, profit and purpose are partners. They go hand in hand. So I want you to think this. How will having more money help you amplify your impact? If you have more money, you're going to be able to do bigger things, better things, impact millions of lives. So you do need money. You do need profit to have more purpose. You do need income to have a bigger impact. So how will more money help you amplify your impact? Limiting belief number 10, and the last one is, once I have more money, I'll feel secure. Once I have more money, I will feel secure. Let me tell you something. Every time you say this phrase, once, blah, 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 then I'll blah, 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 just that's a huge limiting belief. You can have the thing that you want right now. If you want to feel secure, you can feel secure right now. You don't need an amount of money to feel secure. And also, when you will reach that amount of money, you will not feel secure, because it's not the amount of money that will make you feel secure. It's you feeling secure that will make you feel secure. So where does this come from? It comes from trauma, because you've lived in financial stability when you were a child. It comes from chasing external validation because you want to feel safe internally. So you're looking for an external thing, a number to give you that safety. And also you're mistaking money for self-worth. So you think that once you have that number, you're going to be worthy, you're going to feel safe. You feel like all of this trauma around money is going to go away. But the truth is that you can start feeling better now. You don't need the number to feel good. You get to feel good, and then the number will come, actually. So how this shows up in your life is that you feel like it's never enough. Even though there's money in the bank, you feel like it's never enough. You feel anxiety even though you're okay financially. And you're always hustling. And every time you reach the target is moving. You want the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing. So if you want to feel secure, if you want to feel safe, how can you feel secure and safe right now with the amount of money that you have right now? What makes you feel secure? What makes you feel safe that it's not money? And go and trust. Look into those things that already make you feel secure and safe, and savor that feeling, stay in that feeling. So if you could allow safety and security right now, what would that look like? What would you do if you were feeling safe today? What would you do if you were feeling secure today? And I want you to go and feel those feelings. Feel secure now. Feel safe now. You don't need an amount to feel that way. You get to feel that way right now. So those are the 10 limiting beliefs. Let me quickly remind you of all of them. Number 1, money is the root of all evil. Number 2, you have to work hard to make money. Number 3 is there's never enough to go around. Number 4 is wanting more is greedy. Number 5 is I'm just not good with money. Number 6 is if I make too much, I'll lose friends or be judged. Number 7 is I will always be in debt or I will always be behind. Number 8 is people like me don't get rich. Number 9 is I have to choose between purpose and profit. Number 10 is once I have money, then I'll feel secure. So, whoa, we've covered a lot today. This has been a very jam-packed episode. So there's a lot to digest. Again, sometimes it's not easy to learn all of these things. But I want you to think from these 10 limiting beliefs, which are the 2 that are the most prominent that you're like, I definitely believe this to be true. I actually didn't know that this was not true. I literally lived my whole life that I can't even believe that there's a version where these things are not true. Those 2, let's start thinking about them. Of course, I have a whole process when you work with me. I have a whole process that I take my clients through, either in my group program that is coming up next in July, which is going to be called Wealth Codes, or in my one-on-one money mindset program. We go into a lot of depth because this, to me, it's the most important work is how do we shift limiting beliefs? So, of course, we go into depth inside of Wealth Codes or inside of my Money Mindset program. But I want you to think which of these 10 are the ones that are most prominent, that I definitely do believe to be true. And let's start thinking about them. Keep them in mind. Where is this coming from? Where did I learn this? What were my parents saying about this topic? Why do I believe this to be true? Let's get curious, not from a place of judgment, but literally from a place of curiosity and exploration. Where did I pick this up? Why did I pick this up? Let's start going into the cause, into the root cause of it. Think about your childhood. Think about your parents. Think about the relationship that your mom had with money. Think about the relationship that your dad had with money. What did they say in your household? And if you want to learn how you relate to money, what is your attachment style with money, you want to dive a little bit further on this topic, there's a quiz for you to complete in the show notes. It's a super fun 3-minute quiz, super short, and it's going to help you understand your relationship with money. So homework for you is to take the quiz, dive deeper into your relationship with money, and to keep these 2 most prominent limiting beliefs and start digging. Where did they come from? Where did they appear? Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. It's been a true joy. Money mindset is one of my absolute favorite topics to talk about and to teach. I will see you on the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust. If you loved this episode, spread the word, share the episode with a friend who would love to hear this, subscribe to the show, and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. This real quick action on your side helps the podcast grow, reach more women around the world, and it would literally make my day. I will see you next Friday for the next episode. And in the meantime, in Blisstopia we trust.